Welcome to the Reese Report. I'm the mouth of the North, Andrew Reese, and we are back after a short hiatus. Had a little situation happen with my son, so we skipped a week. We didn't get to talk about the Super Bowl, but you know what? We had 300 million people watch it, and then we had 50 million more watch Rihanna, be pregnant and do a great show. So, it's been talked about in nauseum. You all know what happened at the Super Bowl. We're not going to get into that. It's time to switch gears now as the football season has ended. It's time to talk about other sports, aka the Leafs, the Raptors. And we have a little special something for you that Barbosa brought up at the Super Bowl, which we'll get into, which is who is the most skilled player in NHL history. But we'll get to that. Let's start with modern news as the Toronto Maple Leafs made what some people are calling an insane trade and what some people are calling a great trade. We'll see what our opinions are on this. Ryan O'Reilly, and I might not get all the details right, but Ryan O'Reilly and Nicola Akari, I think that's his name. I hope I said that right. Achari were traded for basically for a first, second, third, and fourth overall, fourth round pick. That's the gist of it.
Well, the big, if you really look at it, the main thing why the Leafs traded that first rounder was Minnesota and St. Louis retained 75% of O'Reilly's contract.
Correct. So they had to pay Minnesota and St. Louis to retain salary. So so the fourth round pick went to Minnie. The other three picks went to St. Louis. It was a very steep price for a 32-year-old center who looks past his prime, is minus 24 on the year. However, has previously won a Conn Smythe. A third line center, that's a lot to pay for. But I'm not going to ask. I'm going to ask the Leaf fans first. Mr. Barbosa, you're anxious. What do you think of this trade for the Leafs, and what does it do for them when they face the Lightning in round one?
It's a good trade. That's an excellent trade for the Leafs, if you ask me. Because you can slot O'Reilly either in your top six, or you can even put him as your third line center, which that's a scary lineup if you really look at it. So, having Matthews, Tavares, and O'Reilly center race in the top three lines. That's a scary center race. So and Achari is not a bad pickup too. He's been played pretty well the few games he's come over with to the Leafs. As you know, as we witnessed yesterday, O'Reilly can still play. And that's
got a hat trick playing with Marner and Tavares.
Exactly, got an assist. But if you really look at his game, it all started from the defensive end. That guy's very defensive minded, which it's something that the Leafs, I would say, kind of lacked a little bit.
Yeah,
a player like that in his prime is still in his prime. Still in his prime.
Yeah, when I saw the Chicago Blackhawks and Patrick Kane torch the Leafs, I was all over Twitter saying you should have picked up Patrick Kane. The following day, O'Reilly gets a hat trick, shuts everyone up. However, Keith came out and said he will not stay on that line and will likely be a third line center to match up against Tampa Bay. I still think they should have picked up Kane or a defenseman, but I'll get to Jose and ask him what he thinks of this deal and if he would have done something different.
The deal is fine. I think to me, it's not that like it's not amazing trade. Like you can, it's like Barbosa sled. You can slot him in the top six. You can put him as your third line center. He'll kill penalties. He'll win faceoffs for you. So he's just an like all around player. He's struggled this year. He's minus 25, but he's on a shitty St. Louis team. They were weak this year. So he's going to improve that on the Leafs team. They've been building good chemistry with him and Marner and Tavares. The games that they've played so far together, so they've been putting up some points. So that's not bad. It's rejuvenating Tavares now. They can put him on the wing now, so he doesn't have to be a centerman and stuff like that. So that can boost up your second line scoring right there with Tavares now. But to me, that's not the trade to make. To me, I think you could have gotten, like you said, I wanted to get Kane and McCabe. You could have got Kane and McCabe, your defenseman and your forward to play, and you could have gave him a shit ton of picks and all the stuff that you gave for O'Reilly too. And then you could have put Kerfoot as your third line center, which he can do the job too. So it's not like, but we'll see. This all matters is in the playoffs, man. Regular season is nothing. What matters is in the playoffs when they play against Tampa Bay first round. Well, then we'll talk.
Jose, would you, or sorry, Tony,
listen,
would you have done something different?
We've had this experiment before of Kerfoot centering your third line in the playoffs. It doesn't work. O'Reilly's a guy that comes to the playoffs. He's a gamer when it comes to the playoffs. He's proven it time and time. So it's a good trade. You're not gonna see the value of the trade now, but come playoffs, that's when you're gonna see the value of this trade. I even think Ochari's gonna have a big. I think Ochari's gonna make a huge improvement to the Leafs. Even
you're gonna have Ryan O'Reilly third line.
Huh?
Who are you gonna play with him?
What do you mean you're gonna play with him? You can play with Camp and Engvall, or you can even play him with Camp and
what do you expect him to do? He's not gonna do anything with those two guys on his line. You put him on the first line.
Okay, Jose. Well, what do you need him to do? What's been the Leafs' biggest problem in the playoffs?
Scoring.
No, it hasn't.
Yes, it has.
Hasn't. No, it hasn't. It hasn't been
scoring.
Game
sevens, they can't score goals. Last year they couldn't score.
Defending as well.
You're saying that's their bigger problem. Okay, but then you can slot them in the second line. If that's the issue, then you can slot them in the second line. The problem with the Leafs has never been having that guy to shut down anybody in the opposition top line. That's what O'Reilly's there for.
So defending,
that's what he's there for.
Defending has been an issue for the Leafs in the playoffs.
100%.
And they haven't really added to the defense, and they're still relying on Justin Hall.
Do you think the Leafs are going to win with Samsonov in net and Murray? You're going crazy.
Not Murray, Wall, because Murray's hurt all the time.
You're not going anywhere with that goalie in the playoffs. Did you see him struggle against Buffalo? I'm telling you, one more period, they would have lost that game. With that goaltending, they're not going anywhere. I'm sorry. Unless they outscore Tampa Bay, but I doubt Vasilevsky's going to let in a lot of goals in. But it's going to be hard for them. Not with Samsonov in net. I can tell you that.
So before I get to my take, Barbosa, would you have done something different?
No, that was. If you guys look at it, that was before even Patrick Kane was even a thought. That's what everybody was prep.
What about defenseman? Would you have picked up?
Was Ryan O'Reilly? So I don't know.
Would you have picked up a defenseman?
They're still going to pick up a defenseman.
How? They traded all the draft picks. How?
The Leafs are not done. I'm telling you right now.
It's going to be a roster player trade. They'll get the defenseman. They're not going to get a sexy name defenseman, but they'll get like a
defenseman. You don't need a sexy.
They'll get like a guy.
You need a guy that can clear the net. You need a big, heavy guy. It doesn't have to be sexy. It's just a guy that does dirty work. That's
what I'm saying. They don't need a big name defenseman.
You can give up Kerfoot. No worries. You can give up a roster. You can give up Kerfoot. You can give up Engvall. You have those type of players. So you're.
Well, I'm not sure who wants Kerfoot at $3.5 million, but I'm gonna get to my take now.
You work that deal. That's why we're not GMs, and you got people that are GMs that know better than us. But that's a guy you got to take out. A guy like that.
So I get the move. They wanted to match up with Anthony Cirelli, Braden Point, and Steven Stamkos. I would have went for Patrick Kane. He's a proven Conn Smythe winning goal scoring difference in the playoffs. I don't think Ryan O'Reilly is that anymore. He was awful for St. Louis this year. He looked like he was past his prime, although he did shut me up against Buffalo. Really doesn't matter because, he had a horrible game against the Hawks, then played great against Buffalo. That's what he's been this year. So the question is this trade Foligno or better than Foligno? Because they basically gave up the same thing to get Foligno. A couple added more picks and they got Achari. But I like the other kid they picked up. He should help their bottom six. The problem with the Leafs is if they put all their eggs in the first two lines, they got no bottom six.
That's the problem.
And you're not going to beat Tampa Bay who plays 4 lines every night if you don't have a bottom 6. Remember, Nicholas Paul beat the Leafs last year. Not Braden Point, not Steven Stamkos, not Kucherov. Nicholas Paul, who Tampa Bay picked up from Ottawa, beat the Leafs in Game 7. So
third line center.
The question is, where do the Leafs have an advantage over Tampa Bay? They don't. Defensively, Tampa Bay is better. Goaltending, it's not even close. Vasilevsky's the best goalie in the NHL until further notice. And offensively, it's a pretty even matchup there as well, except Tampa Bay's bottom 6 is better. So if you're the Leafs, you want to get home ice, although that didn't matter last year, and Tampa Bay can catch them for that. I don't think this O'Reilly move moves the needle that much, maybe a little bit. But Anthony Cirelli is a young Ryan O'Reilly. And so I don't know if this necessarily puts them over the top. Tampa Bay has not made a move yet and probably will. So we'll see. But as Jose said, none of this matters until the playoff starts. And unless the Leafs pick up a defenseman that makes a difference, I don't think you can win with Justin Hall in your top 4. I don't think that's going to work. Morgan Riley has struggled all year defensively. He's your number 1 defenseman. So I just don't know how you beat a team with Hedman, Sergachev. I don't know. They came close last year. The team is better this year, the Leafs. Tampa Bay's getting older. Maybe you look at that and you say they've got a shot. But you've got Tampa Bay and Boston, and I don't think the Leafs are equipped to beat one or both. So we'll see. But I understand the trade. They gave up too much, and now they don't have much left to trade for anything else. So what you get after this is not going to be anything major. But we'll see. Dubas does not have a contract next year. He threw everything at the table and said, look, I'm either not going to be here or I'm not going to have any draft picks left. And so he went for the jugular. So we'll see what happens. Now we get to our other disaster of a Toronto team, the Raptors, who were 26-30 on the season. Pascal Siakam ended up making the All-Star game as a reserve. Played well in the All-Star game, although the All-Star game is a joke, and I don't want to talk about it at all. The Raptors have 23 games. They are 26-30. I believe they are 11th in the conference right now. They have a very tough schedule coming up with multiple meetings against the Celtics, Bucks, 76ers. They have 3 games against Washington, who are right beside them in the standings. They have the Bulls. They have the Knicks again. A lot of teams that are with them in the conference. They have a brutal West Coast trip coming up where they play the Clippers, the Nuggets, the Lakers. So this is it. The Raptors went for it. They traded a 24 first rounder and 2 seconds for Jakob Poeltl. He's already made their defense better and their offense better, but is it enough to put them over the top? I'm going to ask Barbosa, what do you think their record will be in the last 23 games, and where will they finish in the standings?
I think they'll finish in the same spot that they're in right now. They'll probably win another. What do we have? 23 games left?
23 games left. Yeah.
I say they win 10 games.
Okay. 10-13. Right. So Jakob Poeltl does not move the needle for you.
Nah, they're still not a great rebounding team. I think that's their biggest. That is probably their biggest issue this year. They can't rebound the ball. I don't think they even have a guy that's got double digits rebounding in the year.
Well, that's why they picked up Poeltl.
Yeah, but even still, it's not enough. I believe that's their biggest problem is the rebounding the ball. If you're giving teams second chance points and you don't get any second chance points, you're not going to win. Their shooting has gotten a little bit better, but still their 3-point shooting, I should say. So I don't see much happening with the Raptors. I don't think they're going to make a big push. And I've heard this today that they have the 5th hardest schedule left in the league. So
they do. Yeah.
There's not much hope. I don't know what Masai was thinking, but it is what it is.
I was shocked he didn't trade Fred VanVleet. Shocked.
Yeah, very surprised.
Very surprised. OG, I'm not as surprised because he loves OG, but not trading Fred still doesn't make any sense to me. Jose, I think you have a different opinion on this. What do you think the Raptors will be to end the season? Where do you see them finishing in the standings?
Well, like I told you guys, I knew they were not gonna. I told you in the trade deadline that they were not going to trade anybody, and they didn't, and they ended up picking out Jakob Poodle. First of all, I think the Raptors will make the playoff, the play-ins.
Play-in?
Yeah,
The
they'll make
play-in.
the.
Okay.
I'm not saying I don't know, depending on who they're playing and who like. You got to think now too, like. They have the fifth hardest schedule, but a lot of these teams are going to rest their best players as well, right? Some of these, like Milwaukee, Giannis is hurt, so they're going to rest them. They're going to rest a lot of these big games, like against big teams. They're going to rest their best players, especially down the stretch coming towards playoffs. So I see the Raptors squeaking in. I think they can go 13-10 the last 23 games,
Okay.
and finish maybe like eighth or ninth place in the playoff, in the play-in. The problem is with the Raptors is the defense. I think the defense, it was struggling at the beginning, but you can see the difference now with Jakob Poodle in the middle. He alters a little bit more of the shots. He frees up Siakam to get more rebounds. Scotty Barnes, so they don't, So there's like a little rim protector there. Last game, put up 30 points. Freaking not even with no threes, just regular shots. Picked up like 6 blocks. So that's what you need on that team. Of course, the problem is with the Raptors is like if he's gonna keep playing with his regular starters 38 minutes, he's just gonna burn them down, and then come playoff time, they're gonna be burned out. He's gotta just rotate. Like he doesn't have to play all those bench players, but put in like 2 starters with the 3 bench players, or 2 bench players with 3 starters. You know what I mean? Like rotate the team. You don't have to make everybody. You don't have to play everybody, but you just got to keep guys fresh for the playoff run. Besides that, the Raptors are going to be fine. Masai knows what he's doing. He did what the Nets GM did. He waited it out. He's seen what these teams are willing to offer his players, and now he went up to the players. Listen, this is what these teams think you're worth. And at the end of the season, I won't be surprised if all those guys that are free agents end up staying with the Raptors. I'm not saying maybe Freddie VanVleet, because he's probably gonna get more money, but I would say I can see Gary Trent re-signing here, Jakob Poodle re-signing back to Toronto, but I will see. So
Yeah,
where do you think the money's gonna come from for VanVleet? The only team I can see maybe throwing some money at him is the Lakers.
Orlando.
You think
Orlando.
you think he would want to go to Orlando though?
The Lakers are gonna go hard off their Kyrie Irving. They want him to, they want him to go to LeBron to go.
Yeah, then there's a little bit of hope for VanVleet to stay. I don't think he'll go to Orlando.
Probably will stay, man. I'm telling you, the Raptors will keep the same team, and Masai will make a blockbuster. I'm guaranteeing you. I'm telling you this on the show right now. Masai will make a blockbuster deal at the end of this year. Well, next year, whatever. He'll make another blockbuster deal to make this Raptor team a competitive team to play for the championship next year. You're gonna see. He's got the players. He's got draft picks that he can play with. And trust me, man.
It's gonna involve OG. Then OG is gonna be
yes,
fine.
it's gonna involve OG 100%.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, it's gonna be a big blockbuster deal, man. It's gonna make the Raptors a competitive team.
Yeah. The Raptors are not a finished product. They are a team that's trying to bandage their problems. Getting Jacob is a nice move. They needed a center for 3 years.
They needed a center.
They've needed a center for 3 years. He can rebound. He can set picks. He's great in the pick and roll. You saw that in the last game when he had 30 points. He can block shots and will make everyone around him better. The question is how much better. If the Raptors had an easier schedule, I would be more positive. But this schedule is brutal. And looking at the schedule, I disagree with Jose. These teams are too close together. There's not going to be a lot of resting. Now, the Bucks at the end of this season, perhaps, yes, because they play the Bucks on the last day of the regular season. So maybe they've clinched a spot, they rest a player. However, the Raptors have already lost to the Bucks without Giannis this year. And so there's no guarantee they win that game.
I don't think there's going to be much resting either.
On these they play Denver twice.
Why is this? This has become a huge topic now around the NBA.
We're going to talk about that, Barbosa. Hold on to that thought because we're going to talk about that next because I have that on the list. But I believe they're going to finish 12-11. I don't see anyone resting. They played the New Look Clippers. They played Denver twice. They played the Lakers, who are fighting for a playoff spot. Washington, who's right beside them, twice. Boston twice. So I don't see much resting there. They're on the road for a lot of these games as well. So it's going to be tough sledding. 12-11 is my prediction. I think they'll finish 8th or 9th. I'm with Jose. And they're not a finished product. And I believe Masai is going to have to do something. When you call your players selfish, that tells me that you're making a move. And you're hoping that the season ends well enough to raise their value to trade them. So that's where they are right now, and we'll see what happens with them starting tomorrow against New Orleans. Now let's get into the topic Barbosa just brought up. A great segue: load management. God, am I so sick and tired of players resting? It's screwing up my betting. It's screwing up predicting the NBA. It's screwing up fans' interest in the game. It's irritating me when I watch games. Barbosa, what would you do about load management? Now, here's the thing. The problem with the NBA is Adam Silver is the most player-friendly commissioner in the history of sports. They were more concerned about who got picked last in the All-Star game than actually making players play. And so with a commissioner like that, Barbosa, what would you do, or what possibly could happen to make players want to play games?
I've been hearing many scenarios that people are throwing out there. Shorter schedule.
That won't happen.
Even if it did, it's still gonna happen. These guys are gonna
They'll find a way to skip
they'll
games,
find a
even
way,
if
exactly.
yeah.
The only thing is finding them. You have to
They
start
make too
finding
much money.
players. That's the problem. These guys are, when you're making way too much money and you have way too much power, this is the recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
The only way I can think of is you got to start finding players, and you got to start finding teams. You got to start
Taking away
finding
game checks. Yep.
organizations.
Yeah.
Maybe taking
Yeah.
away picks, maybe taking
Yeah.
away I don't know.
Yeah.
You have to do something, because it's
Yeah.
obviously people are getting sick of it. Obviously, gambling has become such a huge thing now with sports. And obviously, bookies, and especially Vegas, is not too happy. I'm pretty sure
Mhm.
they're not too happy with what's going on with this load management. You can all
Yeah.
of a sudden you're taking 2-3 players out of the lineup almost every night. That's
Yeah.
not good. It's not good for business, and especially the superstars that play
Yeah.
fans, especially on the other teams that these guys come visit. They want to see these guys.
Yeah.
So it's a very bad look. It's gonna be a hot topic for the next, I'd say, 6 months for sure.
Yeah. CBA coming up. Jose,
Yeah.
do you have an answer to this question?
The only thing that the NBA is gonna ever do to them is to find them. Okay,
Yeah.
that's the only thing that the NBA can do, is find the team or find the player or whatever it is. Listen, if I'm a GM, I got a guy, like, say when Kawhi was here. If he needs to take load management, I'm gonna do whatever it takes for my player to be healthy at the playoffs. Okay, it is what it is. I don't care if fans don't want to buy tickets, if they buy tickets, if they don't. What matters is that championship at the end of the season. Okay, so if I'm gonna have to rest a couple of players here and in a game here, another game there, I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
And the way NBA is gonna do it, and no matter what, even if it says management, oh, I broke a finger or he sprained a finger, they're gonna fake an injury here and there. So the NBA, it's gonna be hard for them to find the players, because they can just say, oh, like my finger's broken or something like that. Just make up a bullshit excuse or an injury or whatever, and they won't play that game. So the NBA, as long as it keeps going, they're gonna have this load management. It's true. Listen, man, it's hard for a player to play every single game, man. It's hard. It's because it takes a toll on your body, and a lot of guys, and this is not all just on the players. This is also on the teams that ask these guys, hey, listen, tonight you're gonna rest. We don't need you to play tonight's game. You're gonna rest. And this stuff about gambling and stuff like that, dude. I've seen the Bucks without Giannis, without Middleton, winning against the thing. I've
The
seen the
Raptors.
Suns, Devin Booker, and
Yeah.
Chris Paul beat the Celtics. So don't come stuff with about gambling and stuff like that. it's just this thing's gonna keep going in the NBA. Whether people, I know it sucks for a fan that pays a lot of money to go watch a
Yeah.
game and they want to watch a superstar and he doesn't play. I know it's tough. I mean, you waste your hard work, like money that you make and stuff like that, to go watch these guys and they don't show up. But listen, man, that at the end of the day, it's the team wants to win a championship, and they're gonna, if they have to rest their players, they're gonna do it. Like they'll eventually get an excuse to rest the player or say that he's injured, or regardless, whatever is gonna happen, the team's always gonna win at the end of the season. And what if I'm a GM, if I'm a owner of a team, I'm gonna do whatever it takes for my team to be healthy and ready to go in the playoffs. So if that has to be load management, it is what it is, man. That's the way basketball is.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You brought up a great name, and this is why this topic is being brought up more and more, is Kawhi Leonard. Ever since he left the Raptors, obviously the Raptors, did their due diligence about load managing him. The Clippers have more than, I don't know how many games has he been played for the Clippers? He's been what, there 5
he's missed more than half. Yeah,
he's missed
tore
more
his knee
than
last
half.
year. So
We're talking about him and Paul George. Both of them have missed more than half of their games ever since they went to the Clippers.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you it's both of them and the Clippers organization going, hey guys, rest for the playoffs.
Yeah, that's the issue is the ownership is in on it too. Yeah.
And that's where the issue is starting to creep up, is because of the Clippers.
Yeah.
But do you blame it? Do you blame the Raptors for resting Kawhi?
Listen, do I blame the Raptors? No, because he came off a huge injury.
And what happened to the Clippers?
But they rested him on most almost back-to-back games.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? And maybe one game here or there. The Clippers are doing half a season. We're talking about half seasons.
He blew out his knee
of a season.
That he went to the Clippers. He blew out his knee.
Yeah, George and Kawhi have been hurt. Yeah, they've been hurt, both of them. Yeah, they did skip some games, but yeah, they both been hurt. Listen, we got a couple of minutes here. I'm just gonna tell you what I think about this. The problem is ownership is in on it. It's not just the players.
Yeah, of course.
When you put all the emphasis on winning rings, which if you look at the media, people on Twitter, all the fans, when all the emphasis on winning rings, teams and players are willing to do anything to get to that point. The Raptors are a perfect example. They traded for Kawhi, and they traded Pirtle and DeRozan for him. And at first, they're like, we want a championship. We're tired of losing. They were willing to do anything for Kawhi to get that championship. And that is why, and it started in San Antonio, not in Toronto. San Antonio was doing this for years with Tim Duncan and Ginobili and Parker. So that's where it started, and everyone else has followed suit. And when all the emphasis is on winning rings, then that's all anyone is going to care about. And whatever it takes to get to that is what they're going to do. And so that's why I don't think it's going anywhere, because that's where all the focus is. That's where ownership's focus is. That's where the players' focus is. And so I don't know how you change this or how you make it any better. Kawhi and Paul George, yes, they've skipped games due to load management, but a lot of the games they miss is because they were legit hurt. And so I just don't know how you can manage it, how you can monitor it, or how you can change it. They've tried finding teams. Teams are worth billions. Doesn't make any difference. If you take game players' checks away, they've got $100 million Nike deals. It's not going to make any difference to them. And so draft picks, don't think that changes anything, especially if you're a good team. And so I don't think there's anything you can do. I will say that it's very frustrating to not see players on TV, to not see players when they come into town. You got to pay $600 for a ticket. And that's where the problem lies. But when your TV deal is billions of dollars, you don't care. And so that is the issue. So that is that topic in our show for now. But when we come back, we are going to talk about a hot topic that we talked about during the Super Bowl. And that is the most skilled NHL player in NHL history. We will be right back to discuss that on the Reese Report. See you then.